right, good morning to you guys. Happy Saturday, October 19th, 2024 here. I hope you guys are doing well this lovely weekend. We got some stuff to talk about here. We've had a lot happen overnight. Some crazy things happened overnight. We now have two named storms. One is about to make landfall over in Belize, over there in Mexico and the Yucatan. We've also got now Tropical Storm Oscar that went from a 10% chance of developing last night to a name storm this morning. So I just want to, when we talk about Oscar here in a minute, kind of give you guys a teaching moment. Never underestimate storms, even though they're only given 10 to 20, 30% chances a lot of times before they get upgraded to higher when we start to see a storm develop. This storm was not really supposed to do anything. We weren't expecting yesterday for it to do anything. It exploded overnight. Like I tell you guys a lot on streams and in videos, storms like to convect overnight. They strengthen overnight majority of the time. And so we saw this happen. This is not a crazy long, big storm. This is a small, compact storm. Sustained winds about 20 miles an hour over there on Tropical Storm Oscar, and we'll get to that here in just a minute. We'll talk more about where that's going to go here in a second. We're going to be doing some live severe weather coverage today as well for portions of New Mexico. We've got a pretty big tornado risk over there in portions of eastern New Mexico, a wind and a large hail threat possibly as well, and we'll get to that here in a minute. And then possibly watching Nadine here, Tropical Storm Nadine, that will be making landfall here very, very soon, if not here in the next few minutes as I'm making this video. If you watch this video later on after lunchtime, it'll already have made landfall. But Tropical Storm Nadine got itself together very, very quickly last night. We went from Tropical Cyclone 15 last night around 11 p.m. to Tropical Storm Nadine this morning. I think around the 5 o'clock advisories when this officially got named. Sustained winds at 50 miles per hour, maximum pressure at 1,000 millibars, and this is already, eyewall is already making inland here towards portions of the Yucatan in Mexico. This will be weakening once it moves inland, but the biggest thing, kind of like what we talked about with Hurricane Milton, Hurricane Milton actually developed off of a tropical depression that formed down here in the Pacific Ocean. It crossed over Mexico, redeveloped over here in the Gulf of Mexico, and then went towards Florida. This is going to be the exact opposite. We're going to watch Nadine fall apart as it moves across Mexico and the Yucatan here in the next 2 days. Redevelop back here over this red area, this red shaded area that you guys see. That is a new area of development over here in the Pacific Ocean, basically an 80% chance at the high risk of development. We're going to watch Nadine get renamed as a new storm over in the Pacific Ocean later on next week, and potentially kind of just be a little fish storm, but potentially even become a hurricane later on next week over there in the Pacific Ocean. So crazy how the Pacific Ocean influences the Atlantic Ocean tropics, and then the Atlantic influences the Pacific Ocean. So I just wanted to give you guys that. We're not expecting any impacts from either one of these storms, United States landfall-wise or impact-wise. So that's some good news. Like I said, by the time you guys see this video, probably this will already have made landfall. Tropical Storm Nadine going to be crossed off the list there once that does officially make that landfall there. But very, very impressive on the satellite imagery this morning. Almost kind of looks like a hurricane. If it would have been given a little bit longer time, this probably would have become a hurricane on how fast it rapidly intensified overnight. Other than what we were seeing here, Tropical Storm Oscar, this just named about 39 minutes ago on the 11 o'clock advisory this morning. Pressure at 107, wind speeds at 40, maximum wind gust to 45. This is expected to kind of wibble wobble and meander. It's going to get stuck with an upper level trough and a high pressure system that is to the northeast up here, and it's basically going to get lodged in between both. You would think that this is going to go towards Florida. It's not. So for my Florida people, we're not expecting this going towards you. If there's going to be any impacts, it's going to be over here in the eastern Bahama Islands and over here towards Cuba. This is expected to maintain strength, potentially get up to tropical storm, high-end tropical storm status, or mid-grade tropical storm status around 50-mile-an-hour winds. This could even just brush the eastern portions of Cuba here and kind of just collapse and fall apart. It's a very, very small storm. We're not expecting this to be any United States impact-wise. That's a good thing. This is basically going to curl back out to sea later on next week and basically kind of fall apart and get caught up with an upper-level trough that's going to be coming through. So not expecting either one of these storms. So what you guys see on social media, be very, very mindful. I know people are going to say this is going to Florida. It's not going to Florida. We can cross that off the list there. We're not expecting any United States impacts at all over the next 7 to 14 days from any tropical systems. That is some very, very good news. Now, this upper level disturbance that's kind of sitting up here over the Bermuda area is bringing some waves. We do have some coastal advisories from that low pressure system that's kind of bringing high tide and low tide in, bringing in these coastal and these river gauges along the east coast here that could be minor flood stage wise. So be mindful of that. If you're out there, the wind's kind of pushing the beach currents up or pushing the waves up there. So be mindful if you're out on the beaches over the next couple of days here, is that will kind of just sit in place off the east coast there and bring those waves off the coast of Florida into the Carolinas, into Georgia, and up into the northeast corridor there. So just be very, very mindful of that. But the bigger story that we're going to be talking about today is going to be the severe weather. We are going to have what is a 2 and a 5% tornado risk today. We'll also have a more than likely probably upgraded 15% hatched hail risk. I think later on this afternoon, confidence is a little bit dwindled on that as of right now. But more than likely when we get on live this afternoon, we'll probably have an update on that, and we'll probably have a hatched risk at that. But we do have a pretty significant tornado risk today. Eastern New Mexico, we have a bowling ball trough that's just kind of sitting over here to the left. Going to be bringing in a pretty decent southwesterly wind. It'll help aid in the lower levels, mid levels. If there's any storms that can latch and be supportive in the lower levels, surface level base, we will have the chance for a couple tornadoes today. But the main threats are going to be damaging winds and hail, 60 to 70 mile an hour winds, and then the hail 1 to 2 inches in diameter, maybe 1.5 to 2.5 inches in some areas. Just going to be very, very mindful of that here. Portions of northern and northwestern Texas here, Interstate 10, Interstate 70, Carlsbad, Hobbs, Roswell, Clovis, portions of Las Vegas, New Mexico here, Springer, Interstate 25 and 40 here. Like I said, 2 and 5% tornado risk. I'll go ahead and pull those up here so you guys can see this. Once again, 5% in the maroon, 2% in the green. That's basically within a 25-mile radius of a given point. We've also got the wind threat, 15 and 5, and the hail is 15 and 5. Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if we get a black hatched area in here for large hail, potentially with the upper level winds. It'll be a little bit stronger, potentially. Now, what is this going to look like for today? This is day 1 of severe weather. We'll have more severe weather tomorrow. We'll talk about that here in just a second. That's going to actually be over the same exact areas. But here's what we're looking at. Storms will kind of start to initiate around after lunchtime between 1 and 3 p.m. Central Time, a little bit sooner than that Mountain Time. So we'll be watching for isolated supercells to develop. This will kind of transition into a line of storms maybe by 7 through 10 p.m. tonight. Damaging winds, maybe a couple tornadoes can't be ruled out, but it'll be more of these discrete cells that fire off that'll have the better chance for a couple tornadoes as we go through the early part of the afternoon here. So like I said, we will be live covering that. I'm thinking getting on around 1 or 2 o'clock-ish, maybe sooner if things kind of initiate a little bit sooner. We've also got another severe weather risk for tomorrow, and that's actually slapped over the same area. Another marginal risk, so we'll have a 2% tornado risk, 5% wind, and 5% hail over the same area tomorrow, so be very, very mindful of that. And then once we get into Monday, this trough will move its way up here into the central plains, where we might have a little meandering chance for some severe weather. There's nothing forecasted by the Storm Prediction Center as of right now, so just be very, very mindful of that up here in Kansas and Nebraska and Oklahoma, but we could see something potentially down the road with that. Now, another thing that we're going to be talking about is going to be just overall what's going to be happening this week. I think this week's going to be a pretty quiet week once we get past Monday. This is that trough ejection that we were talking about, that little bowling ball trough. We typically see these during the spring and fall times, but this far south, a little bit of a different story. The bigger thing would have been if this storm would have actually been a little bit about 100 to 155 miles north over in the Rocky Mountains, potentially, we would have had more of a significant severe weather outbreak for this. So be glad that we did not have that shift to the north a little bit more. We could have been looking at something way worse than what we're seeing now. Like I said, through Monday, that trough will move its way east here into the Central Plains, into Tuesday, moving its way into the Missouri and Ohio valleys. We're not expecting any severe weather as of right now for Tuesday and Wednesday or Monday. What happens is that trough will actually get scooped up by an upper level and mid-level jet stream that'll be coming through next week. We'll start to see the cold air return, potentially a little short cold air blast, portions of the northern Midwest and northern Ohio valleys into Michigan late next week. Not seeing any severe weather at least through next Sunday, which would be some good news. Maybe the return of severe weather for Halloween. Models are still kind of iffy on that storm. I know yesterday's video I kind of talked about a severe weather setup potentially for Halloween. That's still kind of up in the air right now. We'll kind of watch that and just, give you guys a briefing on that if that does in fact validate or get close to happening. Just another idea here on what we're going to be looking at precip wise. We're going to be watching for, like I said, that trough to be moving through here east. You see that cold front up to the north, push it east. Not really seeing a lot of precip along the board. There goes Oscar off the northeast coastline there, or off the east coast there into Bermuda. And then we'll see really maybe a chance for showers and storms return maybe on Thursday and Friday here into next week. And then portions of the upper Midwest getting some rain showers, maybe with a low, maybe some even ice or snow showers by Saturday and Sunday of next week. And then we'll start to turn our attention to what's going to happen for Halloween week, and we'll talk more about that throughout next week. Other than that, guys, be safe, be weather aware. We will be live streaming this afternoon, so come in if you want to watch the live stream. We'll be doing some tropical system updates if we still have any information on that for you guys. But other than that, guys, be safe, be weather aware, and I'll see you guys later on.